Alright. So picture this. You never know when you're like a little kid and you're like all excited. You're like, oh my god, you know, I'm going to Disneyland, I'm going to an amusement park. And you're like, I'm going to go on a real roller coaster like a big one. You're like, yay! Because you're like all excited about it. It's like, you know, it's like the coolest thing ever. And then you get there.
And, you know, the person like running the park, you know,
the really big guy who's like scary looking, kind of intimidates you.
Yeah.
He's like standing there and he's like,
excuse me, you gotta be like 10 feet tall to ride this. And you're like, you're like 3 feet tall, and you're like, are you kidding me? Like, that's physically impossible.
Like, how is anyone 10 feet tall? And he's like, I'm 10 feet tall, and it's like, great, so you can ride the roller coaster and I can't.
You must have absolutely no money because nobody's 10 feet tall. You are the only person in this whole amusement park who is 10 feet tall.
And it just breaks your heart, like as a child. It's like, oh my god, I'm never gonna be able to ride this ride. I'm never gonna be 10 feet tall. My whole family are midgets. Like, it just mortifies you, you know?
Like my family, my whole family is like less than 4 feet tall. Like, I'm the second tallest person in my family, and that's sad.
But it just breaks your heart in half. Kind of like, okay, so it's kind of like when you go to a really like nice restaurant, like a Mexican restaurant, you know, and the waiter is always like, oh, you know, I'm just too good to be working here, you know, I'm gonna sit here and I'm messing my nails and like, you know,
be a total jerk to everybody, and
you know, and it's like, she gives you little crayons and like your little like, you know, maze, and you're like sitting there, you're like coloring, and, you know, I still do this. I'm 15 years old and I still have to color.
I do the same thing.
And then your crayon breaks.
And you're sitting there and you're like,
snaps in half, and you're like,
oh my god, my crayon just broke. And you're like sitting there with your parents.
What am I gonna do without my red? Mommy, you know, what am I gonna do?
It told me I had to color this red. Now I don't have a red. What am I gonna do?
You know, your parents are like, oh, just ask the waiter, and you're like scared. You know, she's really
intimidating, and she's
scary. Like. So, you know, she's like walking by, and you're like, excuse me, and she just like walks by, and you're like, ah. And then,
okay, I'll get her next time.
You know, she walks by again, and then you're like, excuse me, and she just walks by again. So finally you get a little ticked off. You're like, okay, I want my freaking red crayon, you know.
This is ridiculous.
Girl better give me my red crayon. So, you know, she goes and she walks by again, and you're like, hey lady, you know, like, waiter, you know, like all mad.
And she's like,
you know, like popping her gum. You know, and you're like, my red crayon broke, and she's like,
okay.
You know, so. And it's like, can I have another red crayon? And it's like, no, of course not. I only give one red crayon per customer. It's like, well,
why?
Are you kidding me?
This is ridiculous.
And then like 10 minutes later, she walks by and she gets some other kid, and he gets another crayon. No, I didn't get another crayon, but he gets another crayon because he's like 4. You know, all because I'm 15 and I deserve another crayon. No, I think not.
That's ridiculous.
I want my freaking crayon, you know,
that's super like. I don't know what it is.
So, like, you're all annoyed and stuff, and you're like, oh, this is lame, and, you know, it just crushes you, because it's like, what am I going to do with that?
And all your siblings are like,
maybe if my red crayon, you know, all your siblings are sitting there, and they're, like, coloring away, like, having the best time ever, and you're like,
or your siblings are, you know, too old to color with crayons at the restaurant, and you're like, hey, I can't take one of their crayons, because they're not using crayons, or they don't need a red crayon, or they don't have a red crayon.
I have to color this red, and it just crushes you, because it's like, even though
you just can't finish it.
Your crayon still works, but it's broken half. And it's just like little, and it's like saying, like, you need a full crayon. You need to have the full crayon, or
it's just not right. It's like morally wrong.
So, you know, and then you go and your parents are like, oh, you know, we have to go home now. And you're like, hey, you know, I can't finish because they broke my red crayon. They're like, that sucks. Let's go. So they pack you up. And you're getting in the car. And you get in the car, and you're sitting there, and you're like, you know, and you're like,
and then you find a red crayon in your car.
Yeah, like right there, and it's like,
why
didn't anyone tell me I had this red crayon?
Why didn't I have this 10 minutes ago?
Why didn't this lady just give me another crayon? I don't understand. Like, that's what gets me. It's like, why can't you give me another crayon? Are you that proud that you can give me another crayon? You too busy popping your gum? And, you know, 20 minutes later, you know, like, on the phone, like, she must have, like, had a bad day. So, of course, she had to do it on, like, you know, on the phone with, like, her bum-out boyfriend. She's, like, on the phone with him, you know, like, popping her gum. And she's like, you know, like, oh, well,
this kid asked me for a red crayon today, and I was like, no.
You know, why would you even ask me for a red crayon? Do you know how important I am? I'm going to be a celebrity one day, because, you know, I can sing and I can dance, you know, secretly she can't sing at all, and he's looking at it, and he's like,
you can't sing. I live with you. You can't sing.
And then he's like, you know, he has to bring something up that's going to make it really matter, and she's like, well, I'm dumping you for your sister. And then, you know, of course, then she's like, why would you do that? You know, now because all of this happened because I told you about this kid with the red crayon. Like, I just know that's the reason. I will never give a child a red crayon again.
And that is your fault.
And it's like, this is how you crush children's dreams. Like, you won't give them red crayons, you won't let them on a roller coaster. You know what else just destroys a child? Is, you know, when you come home and you're all proud of yourself and you're like, Dad, you know, I made an 80 on my test. And they're like,
an 80? Are you kidding me?
And it's like,
would you be happier if I got an 81?
I'm just like, I did my best, and they're like, I don't care, you know.
Do better next time.
You bring me home a red crayon, and it's like,
Why do you need a red crayon?
I don't need a red crayon. No one will give me a red crayon, you know, like...
You don't get a red crayon.
That's what you get. And then, you know, you gotta remind them every now and then. It's like, you know, I'm picking your retirement home.
And they're like...
I picked people who are gonna wipe your butt when you're old, you know. You know, treat me like that? No, you could have still brought me a freaking red crayon, you know.
And they're like, yeah, well, you have, you know, other siblings that, you know, I can entrust them to
like, you know, pick my retirement home. It's like,
you seriously think you're gonna, you know, do so many great things for them?
Actually like you? No.
It's like, you know what? Honestly, they don't like you. They just don't.
I'm sorry. It sucks.
You know, it's like you are gonna do things to them later on in life,
but it's like
that are gonna make them hate you.
You know, all of these things happen because this waiter wouldn't give you a red crayon.
And it's just
that's all it is. That's it. You killed
your whole life.
Like your whole life
is completely
gonna go
ruined.
downhill after that because they wouldn't give you a red crayon. You know, it's like
you know, the reason this woman
your parents
wouldn't
gonna
give you a
hate you
red crayon,
because you won't give them a red crayon. It's like I don't have a red crayon to give you because they wouldn't give me a red crayon. And then you know they're
otherwise
all mad.
I would give you a red crayon.
And then you know like since they're mad, you know they go to work and they're in a bad mood and they're like you know yelling at their boss because they don't have like a red crayon. You know, cause, you know.
And their boss is standing there like, why do you need a red crayon? You're like 40.
And they're like, well, my kid wouldn't give me a red crayon this morning, so I'm mad. You know, and then they get fired from the job. Next thing you know, your family's living on the street
in a box.
In a box. And all of this went down. Like, your family lives on the street because your dad lost his job, because you failed the test, because you didn't have a red crayon to fill in the correct portion of the test that said fill in red, because the waiter wouldn't give you a red crayon, because she got dumped by her boyfriend. Cause and effects. This is what makes the world go round.
If you're a guy and your girlfriend is a waiter at a restaurant,
don't dump her when she's at work, especially not when she tells you someone asked her for a red crayon.
Exactly.
Don't do it. You will ruin someone's life.
You will ruin several people's lives.
And yeah, that was just what we had to say today. That was just purely off the top of our head.
That was our advice to you tonight.
And I'm telling you right now, I still don't have a red crayon. So if my family wants to put it in a box, I'm gonna cut that waiter. I will cut her.
Yep.
I'm not scared.
It's gonna be crazy.
It's gonna be good. Bye.